Jonathan Pogash is the cocktail guru, a mixologist and hospitality expert.
See? You know big words. Dude, I'm the cocktail guru. Cheers.
Jeffrey's his dad, a wine and spirits author, historian, and consultant.
Oh, I do my homework.
With decades of experience, they're always looking for the next big thing. Join this father and son duo for a few laughs as they explore the hottest trends in hospitality with the service industry's leading trailblazers and tastemakers. Welcome to the Cocktail Guru Podcast.
Welcome to Hollywood and Vine, Dad.
What?
Yeah, we're in Hollywood.
Did I ever tell you something?
What?
You're going to Hollywood, John.
Okay, that's... I understand
How's
where
that?
I understand where you're coming from, but it's a little early in the morning for me to take your humor.
Well, I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
But we're in downtown Hollywood.
And we're at a really amazing cocktail bar called Lost Property Bar that allows us to come in and wreak havoc and basically tear the place apart. No, we're good tenants. But it's great to be here. We've been in LA for a few days now, haven't we?
A few days, yeah. It's been great so far.
Yeah.
It always is in LA.
Lots of visits to various places.
It's a beautiful place. Lots of great restaurants for hamburgers, hot dogs, Mexican food, all kinds of great cuisine.
We had a great hot dog feast yesterday, didn't we? At
yes.
Chili John's, right? I know the crew is still stuffed from that, but we took care of everybody, didn't we?
Chili John's in Burbank.
That's right.
Yes.
If you're ever there, we're going to have him, the owner, on as a guest as well.
Yes, if you ever fly into the Burbank airport, go straight to Chili John's.
Yeah. But should we bring in our very special guest?
I think we should.
So we have a very, very special guest who happens to work on a very, very special tequila brand that we love and have loved for many, many years. Really ever since we met our mutual friend, Madam Charlotte Voicey.
Yes,
who started off as the Hendrix brand ambassador, one of the very first brand ambassadors in the U.S. of the modern cocktail age. And Charlotte is a dear friend, and we've done lots of work with William Grant and Sons, specifically with Milagro Tequila, and we want to bring on an amazing guest who has agreed to be on the show with us, believe it or not.
Yes, we're very lucky, and I'm very thirsty, so I hope we're having a great Milagro Tequila cocktail.
Mr. Luis Lopez, welcome to the Cocktail Guru Podcast.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
And you are a local Los Angeles representative of Milagro Tequila. Is that not right?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct.
And celebrity.
Well, we are in Hollywood.
Yes.
I'm missing my star out there, but we'll make it happen someday.
Just a few $1,000s and you got it. Yeah.
That's what it costs for a star?
Something, I think.
Like
something.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to look into that. That'd be pretty cool.
Can you pass that bottle of Milagro to me, Dad?
Yes,
I just want to kind of put it over here.
Let me
put one
gaze
over.
at it.
The positioning, the Milagro positioning.
Beautiful.
But Luis, I always love chatting with our guests about how they got into the world of hospitality. And I think I read that you started off as a busser, barback, kind of working your way up, which is how I started too. I started off as a barback many, many years ago, more than 20 years ago, working in a bar, and then eventually made my way up. But what was that experience like for you?
It was a beautiful experience. I would not change a stepping stone from that because of the position themselves and the responsibilities that have been given to you at bar. You actually get to respect not every role, but also every bartender you encounter, every person you encounter, because it actually humbles you. And you also realize the importance of a barback or a busser, because without them, the entire restaurant will fall apart or the bar will fall apart. So knowing that I actually had the privilege of the sweat and tears and dragging, nasty floor mats from out of the bar.
Yeah.
Hey man, I know I made a difference.
For sure.
And as a whole, I've been, I guess you could say 13 years from 2011 till now. Mm-hmm. So 13 years roughly, give and take. But you were mentioning before, if I represent in Los Angeles, Milagro Tequila. Well, I actually represent the whole West Coast of America. So it's pretty exciting.
Wow.
I get to travel a lot for Milagro Tequila.
That's a massive region.
Yeah. LA is definitely my hometown, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I represent big out here, but anything, I guess you would say, this way from Texas
Wow.
is my
it's
range.
your territory.
It's
Yeah.
let's go have some fun
Very
out there.
good. Yeah.
But I started off as a busser and a barback, and I want to say it was out here in Hollywood. And many people don't know this, but I made a very it's like a pinnacle decision, you would say. I was part of the cadet program of the police here, LAPD.
Oh. Really?
And from the cadet program, you naturally graduate to go onto the police academy, right? I was like top of my class of the cadets. I actually was representative speaker for our class in front of our graduating class.
Oh, wow.
And then one day, one of my friends called me and be like, "Hey, I know you told me if I ever have an opportunity for you to get into like the bar scene, you'll take it." And don't get me wrong, this was not a bartending role. This was literally the first role I would consider my busing role. And it was from the iconic bar out here, no longer exists, but it used to be called Piano Bar, which was 4 blocks away from here. Everybody knew it because you walked in there and there was always a great pianist and great environment in there. So I started that first day and never looked back at the academy. So you could say some people call me a fool. Some people call me smart in what I do because hospitality is just in my nature. They say education, the way you speak, the way, the way you say good morning, good afternoon, good evening starts at home, It's just how your mother or your father raised you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things where I feel like I already has hospitality in my blood. Yeah. Because, being an Angelino, but from the Guatemalan background or Latino America, we usually, when you pass each other, you say good morning, you say good afternoon, you say good evening. And that's just natural. In America, many times you pass by people just left and right and you don't cross words. Yeah. It's just not part of the
maybe
culture.
hi or
that's
hey
it,
or
hello,
hey,
But so we kicked off over there as a busser, and for me, I didn't look at it as cleaning glasses. It's like some people will look down on that job in a way, But for me, it was like, man, I'm keeping this place afloat.
For sure.
People need glasses in order to drink cocktails.
Right.
So
and the bartenders need to make drinks in order to make money.
Correct. And it was like a full circle thing, You're realizing that, and busing, it just became a good thing. Good work ethics suited came from that, and then I got promoted to a barback. What did that mean for me? I did not know what the difference was, but I knew it meant higher tips. Exactly. So I was like, I'm in. Same hours, I'm in. Exactly. So after that, we get into barbacking with some iconic bars out here. I know you said you're currently live in New Jersey?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Born and raised.
Massachusetts?
That's right.
Yeah, so maybe you probably know these bars or not, but there's some great bars here, very, very long standing bars. But let's just say I didn't have a set shift as a barback at one place, so for a couple of years, I was barbacking like at 10 different places because nobody gave me a set schedule, and it was just kind of on call. Yeah. And at the same time, I was going to the university, so it kind of worked out for my schedule.
That's great. That's great too, because you get a little bit of a taste, an introduction to different styles and different places, so that you could basically go to any place after that.
Pretty much.
Be totally set. But I was just thinking, we forgot to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
And at the beginning of each interview, we always ask our guests, what is your desert island cocktail? So like you're stranded on a desert island and there's one thing available to you. What is that?
Okay, now my brain is just traveling at 1,000 miles per hour. I would say I want something balanced, refreshing. So as of right now, immediately, I would say some sort of take on a cosmopolitan. Bright,
good
refreshing.
Choice. Good choice.
Not too much acidity, but it's mighty delicious. And then I think of like heat, right? You think of heat like on an island, and this is the island that I'm gonna be on.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, Cosmo works well for me.
Right, maybe like a Milagro.
Milagro Silver Cosmopolitan.
Oh no! Well, substituting Milagro for vodka would be.
Well, little birdie told me that's a drink that we might be tasting a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very interesting. Your background, kind of doing the training, the cadet training, and also working in a bar is, I'm not going to say similar, but it's like it's structured, and you've got
very structured,
and it's kind of a sport when you're crazy busy and you've got 8-10 people deep and you're just in the groove. And you've kind of trained for this, and I feel like the training process is kind of similar in a way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would totally compare it in because I mean, there's regiment at a bar. Yeah. There's when you speak from like the roles, everybody has an immediate responsibility. Servers have to do the roll-ups. Barbacks, maybe the prepping, make sure that they restock at the end of the night. bartenders, hey, make sure person sits down, you got to give them a glass of water. There's always like a regimen to the role. So, you know, that kind of really set me up for good work ethics in general, and also being on time. It's a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Just say that,
when you're on time, you're late.
Yeah. That's a good thing to have just moving forward in life in general. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing about like being a busser and barback. I really appreciate the opportunity. And also it allows me just to like admire the entire process from beginning to end, from what it takes to be a bar. Many people's goals is like, hey, I want to own a bar one day. And I was a preacher of that. And so current days, because I know how difficult the struggle is to maintain a bar. People just see like the joy and the cheers, but you don't see the tears that sometimes ownership goes through, you know? And it's like, it's difficult, man. Like maybe in Los Angeles it's extremely difficult. Maybe New York extremely difficult. Maybe in the middle of America, some places might be easier because there's not as much competition and as variety in the offerings. But in this city, man, it'll be a dream to own a bar, right? You see it in movies, you know, that it's kind of like where you want to head to. But I have really definitely reconsidered just from the fact that I was a busser, barback, and then you start discussing about, you know, staffing and all that good stuff, and it's like, whew, now you know, the blood pressure is going a little higher.
You know, people always ask, you know, do you ever want to own a bar? To me, I don't know if people have ever asked you that question.
Yes, they have.
We've had many conversations about it, and I remember you've always said, well, if I have money to lose, then
don't do it.
You know, then I
yeah,
might.
if you have a couple of $1 million to lose, open up a bar or a restaurant. That's fine. Yeah. But if you don't, then either you have to find a major backer to help you financially, or just forget about it.
Absolutely, this is a true state that I guess only through experience and through seeing multiple bars come and go do you start realizing this, right? Because in the beginning it's just easy to say, yeah, I want a bar and I'm gonna do this, because you know when you set your goal to some things, certain people do it, but it's like it's nicer when somebody who has done it and being like, hey man, this is what it takes. Yeah. This is what you're gonna need, and you're like, well, let me probably reconsider this. You know.
Exactly.
So going back to like the roles of like being a busser and barback, eventually with time, I had the blessing of being allowed to bartend. You know, and I say being allowed to bartend. I know like the bartender scene has changed in the past 10 years, but I say before, even prior to 10 years, you used to have to earn your keep in order to even touch tins, in order to be able to touch tools. It's literally one of the things where like you're about to go for a tin and you look at the bartender and they're like, don't do it. You haven't earned that right, you know? And I mean that in a very good way, because every cocktail that comes out of whatever specific bar was like proper measurements. It was like you executed with the way you garnish. When you see things happening as a bartender, don't think that they just don't have any reason. You know, the way you zest something, the way you peel something, the thickness of the piff, you know, how long they shake, the rhythm, like all these things have significance. But if I wasn't a busser or barback that was just an observer for many years before shaking a tin, I probably wouldn't value that as much. And also it's the people that I got trained by just by observing and being taught. There were some of the key players that now have moved on to being some of the most influential people in the game, you know? Sure. So moving on to like the bartending thing, man, I never looked back. It was one of those things, once I got a tin in the right hand and I was like, can I do the double shake? No, then the crowd goes wild.
What about the shake and the stir?
Oh, the shake and the stir. That's a adrenaline rush right there.
It is an adrenaline
And then
rush.
when you know, I didn't get to this point, but when you're able to shake like 3 tins, not just being a show off, but you know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The quadruple Yari glass stirring, that's amazing.
Yeah.
All this stuff is really, really like new techniques, old techniques, but very valuable in the way that bartending is. But one thing's for sure, crowd pleaser, man. Like, it's like I always thought like shaking. You know, when you walk into a place, like you hear the chicka 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 ch, or sometimes you just hear the ch 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 ch.
Yeah.
Those are signatures out there. When you see people's signature when they write their checks or you know they sign any contract. That's bartenders have signatures. You could identify a bartender by the way that a tin shakes. You know, you walk in like, oh, there goes Luis Lopez. I know he's in here, you know? Or like, oh, there goes my friend Eric, you know? Like, it's super exciting. So the way that I curated, I guess you would say my shake, was observing all the shakes that I did like, also the ones I didn't like. and I combined all that together. But then there was a time, I can't remember what year, but I believe there was a brand or a seminar at Tales of the Cocktail where they went through the importance of posture and wear and tear, right? Because as a bartender, you're using I use a lot of shoulders and knees because I want to be all interactive.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bartenders like, stagnant or just like it's strainful, So it's one of the things like, okay, shake like this for the 1 hour, shake with the other one majority for the other hour, maybe two-handed this way. Yeah. So you keep everything in rotation,
Right.
Combine all those things, and by the time you know it, I have like a salsa shake now. You got
a salsa shake,
which works best with me, my rhythm of things. But we'll be able to see that a little bit later.
So it's like
man.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, and it's really, really exciting. You understand that, like the percussion sound. People love music, even if they're not dancers. Guess what? They like to throw some shoulders in there.
Oh yeah.
And I used to work at this bar not too far from here. It's called La Descarga. Descarga is a very famous
we were just talking about it last night.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool spot, and one of the best shakes I've heard up there was just literally orchestrated or designed by the bartender to go in rhythm with the salsa band. So it was the ice cubes there were enhancing with the percussion of the whole band. I was like, man, that is creative. And also you're impacting this entire room, not just with your cocktails, but like, and then you see like the dazzling eyes, men and women, didn't matter, just like staring at you like, okay, man.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool. That's what it is to be a bartender, But I did that for so many years, and wow, now currently sitting in front of you as a brand ambassador for Milagro Tequila.
What about that transition from working behind the bar to being an ambassador? Because we've talked about that many times with various people.
It was actually a fantastic pivot. You kind of step into a world that you didn't know existed, and I mean the stuff that you don't see, and also the capabilities and your reach. And maybe the reputation you have been building for years that you didn't realize you had until you're able, because remember, people used to have to come to you to one establishment, but now you could go to them, right? And that just made an impactful thing because now you could go visit your friends, you could go, meet and greet people that won't come necessarily into Los Angeles, but they live in, Massachusetts, they live in Texas, Oregon. So now you have a further reach. But overall, it's beautiful, man. It's just one of those things where, in a sense, I go like this because you're kind of like, you're graduating from one step to another. It's like another milestone. You hear how many people are like, oh, I want to become a brand ambassador. Maybe people don't know what that takes. And also, there are not that many brand ambassador roles in every specific brand. So there's like a selected few. So I feel very honored to be just an ambassador in general. But for Milagro Tequila, it was very serendipitous. I felt like it came full circle because now thinking about it, you mentioned earlier, like, hey, I actually enjoy Milagro Tequila.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I looked at a picture in 2012 recently. I'm going like this to a bottle, and it was Milagro Tequila.
Oh, my God. That's so funny,
So bringing it all back, it's been a complete excitement to be with Milagro now. But I love it. I love the role overall. And, thankfully, they hugged me back.
We can't not talk about one of the first things that you noticed on Luis.
The beautiful hat. Oh, that's sombrero / cowboy hat.
Yes, absolutely.
Gorgeous.
Can you tell us about it?
This absolutely. First, hopefully the camera's on, but it says Milagro. So this hat was actually designed by Christopher J. Heller. It's fun. You bring the brighter side of tequila. I'm never lost because I always have my compass on. So north, east, southwest. And I travel a lot from Mexico to Los Angeles. And it's actually, can I borrow that bottle real quick?
Of course.
Yeah. Put this one here. And this bottle was actually designed, this hat was designed for this bottle. And this is one of the things where the color scheme is pretty cool because it goes into the blue, transparent blue.
That's awesome.
And that's my Milagro Tequila silver hat. It's a great talking point.
We love it.
Well, if you give me this guy's phone number, I'll order a hat from him.
That would be good. Maybe I will too.
Yeah.
I think who's thirsty?
I think it's time for a cocktail.
Hello. I've been waiting a long time
since he woke up.
now.
Yeah, absolutely.
In our bunk beds at our hotel. No, we're staying at a great place, the Freehand, which is great. We're not in the same bunk bed, guys.
But we do. But we do have bunk beds.
Yes, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. Not much space, but
it's like camping.
It's a little bit like camping.
Camping in downtown LA.
We're gonna move over to the bar over there at Lost Property and make a couple cocktails.
Absolutely.
We call it tipple time.
Tipple time.
You ready for tipple time?
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's do it. Cheers, man. Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Tipple Time is brought to you in part by Lost Property Bar, and Milagro Tequila.
Well, welcome listeners and viewers. We're here with another Tipple Time segment. Luis Lopez from Milagro Tequila. You are the first guest bartender for Tipple Time. Usually it's just me alone in a room recording by myself, but here we are in Hollywood doing it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into this.
I'm super excited. Go for it. What do we have?
The first cocktail we'll be making is called a Cosmo en Ciudad Mexico. So we're gonna go ahead and kick off with a little Milagro Silver. There's no aging in this, so it's gonna be offering the fresh agave bright notes with peppery essence.
Nice.
So we're doing a little ounce and a half in there.
Ounce and a half.
Then we follow that with a little citrus, right? So we're gonna do 3/4.
Little lime, yeah?
Fresh squeezed lime.
Of course, always fresh squeeze.
Fresh squeeze makes a big difference. Best cocktails. Then we're gonna go a half ounce of simple syrup.
Awesome.
Right into the tin. And I am building everything into the tin because we're gonna add ice at the end.
Yep.
And of course we're gonna do a little Cointreau.
And everyone at home knows why we add ice in at the end. I've talked about it before at Tipple Time, and that's because we want to maintain control of the dilution of the drink, and the only way to do that is to add ice last and then do our shaking. Otherwise, we're pouring liquid over room temperature liquid over ice, and it'll prematurely dilute.
Ice at the end.
There you go, right?
And as I get these tins set up, I already have my martini glass chilling out over here.
Nice.
Give it a nice little shake.
This is your salt. It's Luis's salsa shake. Everyone has a signature shake, right? We were talking about that earlier.
That is absolutely correct.
And you take inspiration from the past shakers of your career.
Yeah, so everybody gets a little shine here. So I'm gonna get rid of this ice and
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that forward. And would you mind giving me a little lime
Yes.
hue, please?
I would not mind at
This
all.
beautiful pink hue, Cosmo and CDMX, which is an abbreviation for Ciudad Mexico.
Ciudad
And
Mexico.
this is just a little riff by switching out the vodka with a little Milagro Silver. And it should be a nice little pop of not only color, but flavor.
That's nice. Hold on, you leave it there
All
because
right.
I'm gonna.
There you go. Strategic
lean
move
in.
from you. All right.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
There you
very
go.
reminiscent of a classic Cosmo, but that Milagro, adds a really nice bit of savoriness to the cocktail itself, and actually makes it not as sweet.
It is not as sweet.
Other cocktails.
It's refreshing, bright forward. And also the question when we were doing the podcast was, what is my island cocktail?
Desert Island cocktail, yeah.
And that's the
it.
one right there.
Awesome.
And I'll continue the journey here by
Let's do
making
it.
something we call a Milagro Kick. So this is, for me, it was an inspiration, was a Cameron's Kick, which is a split-based cocktail. But this time around, we're going to enjoy, have a little fun with some tequila. So as I get into this, very easy recipe. So we're going to go with orgeat or ghee. I say orgeat. It's an almond-based syrup.
Yeah.
But we're going to go 3/4 with this. And then 3/4 of a citrus.
Lime again, yeah.
Lime again.
Okay.
And then I'm going to actually just do a little one-on-one here. So we're going to do one Milagro Silver.
You're doing a split base.
That is correct.
Milagro split base.
And
Very
then
nice.
because I want to give it some viscosity, some body, how about we go with some reposado, huh?
Reposado.
So we do hear the pop of the cork, fresh bottle. 1 ounce of this, you're going to get some oak, a little bit of caramel coming in there.
Yeah, from the aging.
And what'd you say? We add ice.
Add ice last
All
so
right.
that we can monitor the dilution.
Let's go. And then finally, coming up on the glassware, I like ice. Ice is your friend. Actually, they already saw me shake.
Yeah,
Come on.
okay, yeah. Ready? All right.
Yeah, man. All right.
All right, shake it awake, don't rock it to sleep. Always.
And then pop that open. And then finally, you show off a little bit.
A little.
And then let's go. Let's strain
Every
it in
last
here.
drop.
Counts. So as we pour this in here, I like garnishing this one specifically with an orange peel.
Okay.
Would you be so courteous,
I
please?
would be honored.
So the nice, I actually like to play with color contrast as well, apart from flavors. Please, thank you. And here you have it. You have the Milagro Kick. Hopefully you could enjoy
Dad?
this.
Yes.
Dad's
yes,
here?
I thought you'd never
Yeah, come in between us so the
what?
mic will pick you up. So the microphone will pick both of you up. Are you tangled?
Get him in here close. Get him in here close.
For
Have a
Milagro
little, please have a
tequila.
taste.
I will. I
Absolutely.
love every cocktail that has orgeat syrup in it. I just love it.
It is just lovely. Hopefully you like this one.
Dad takes slow sips, I've realized.
They're flavorful sips. He's getting all the essence of it.
Really
Oh yeah.
good.
Well, the orange, essence on top.
But the flavor of the tequila really penetrates through all of the other ingredients.
That's the biggest thing. But right here you have a split base with Milagro Silver and Reposado.
It's very balanced. Dad, you want to try this one?
Yes, I do.
And,
Do you have a steady hand?
Yes,
That is very steady. And just to give you a little insight, Milagro Tequila was born in 1998. So we're now in 2023. So
25th anniversary.
There you go, coming up on that. And Milagro means miracle for our non-Spanish speakers. So, gotta keep it in there.
Luis, thank you so very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Salud. Absolutely,
Salud.
big pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a guest bartender on our Tipple Time segment.
Simple time. Thank you for
Very
having me.
exciting. Cheers, everyone. See you next time.
Cheers. Tipple Time is brought to you in part by Lost Property Bar and Milagro Tequila.
The Cocktail Guru presents Cocktail Commentary with Jeffrey Pogash. Sit back and enjoy the story of the Tequila Sunrise cocktail.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Cocktail Commentary. Those of us who like to study the history of cocktails are always looking for primary source material that will confirm a certain theory about the origin of particular cocktails and exactly how old they are. Well, one day I was rummaging through an antiquarian bookstore, as I often do, and found an interesting brochure. It was from the 1920s, extolling the virtues and pleasures of a place that I had read about in passing, but did not really know. Turns out that the place was Agua Caliente in Tijuana, Mexico, a $10 million luxury resort that has been dubbed Satan's Playground. Yes, ominous. It opened in 1928 when Prohibition was in full force. So the rich and famous, the elite, including Hollywood's most famous stars and starlets, flocked there for leisure time activities. For example, the beautiful Rita Hayworth was discovered there performing as a dancer in the nightclub, and actor Charlie Chaplin, comedian Bob Hope, and crooner Bing Crosby were regulars. The resort billed itself as the place, quote, where drinking never ceased, end quote, and rightfully so. Bars existed throughout the resort for the convenience of its alcohol-starved American clientele. Whether you found yourself in the 500-room hotel, in the casino, lounging around in the bungalows, betting at the two racetracks, horse and greyhound, taking a Turkish steam bath, enjoying the nightclub acts, playing a round of golf, or sloshing around in the Olympic-sized pool, there was always a cocktail at hand to wet your whistle. So you can see that Agua Caliente, which means hot water in English, presented many opportunities to find oneself in just that situation if one were to indulge a little too much in the good life. And this place gave its customers every opportunity to enjoy the good life. I made a pilgrimage to Agua Caliente back in 2008 to see what remained. The answer is not much. The Greyhound racetrack is pretty much the centerpiece of what was once a thriving luxury resort complex. I took this opportunity to visit a number of bars to taste their tequila, which is one of my favorite spirits. Now back to the 1920s brochure, what I found remarkable is that I discovered what I believe to be the earliest reference in writing to a drink that has become a modern-day beach resort and poolside classic, the Tequila Sunrise. And now, the rest of the story. So does this mean that Agua Caliente was the home of the Tequila Sunrise? Perhaps, but to be fair, there are competing stories, which we will get to later. For the present, let's discuss the recipe that I found. It states 1 jigger of tequila, 1/2 lime squeezed, exactly 6 dashes of grenadine, exactly 2 dashes crème de cassis, and 2 lumps of ice. Serve in a highball glass filled to the brim with healthful Agua Caliente Roca Blanca sparkling water. Stir slightly. Yes, this is the original Tequila Sunrise recipe. Really? Something is missing, you might say. Yes, of course, it's orange juice. Now, those of you who are Tequila Sunrise fanatics might lament the absence of Florida's signature beverage. And I, for one, am happy as I find that orange juice, especially the bottled version, mucks up the flavor of a cocktail. Freshly squeezed orange juice is far superior, but that's neither here nor there because there is no orange juice in the original Tequila Sunrise. A similar recipe created in the 1930s comes from the Arizona Biltmore Hotel in Phoenix, created by one Gene Sulit. The recipe is as follows: 1 1/4 ounces tequila, 3/4 ounce creme de cassis, fresh lime juice from 2 slices, club soda, and a slice of orange. Fill glass with cracked ice, add tequila, creme de cassis, and a squeeze of lime. Do not mix. Garnish with fresh orange wheel. Note that there is no grenadine in this recipe and still no orange juice, but I do like the addition of an orange wheel. It is obvious that there is an ever so slight evolution going on here. But the Tequila Sunrise that we know today came about much later in a completely different but equally exotic location, Sausalito, California, at the Trident restaurant. This version of the recipe dates to the 1970s and is the simplest one yet, consisting of tequila, orange juice, and grenadine. It's a far cry from the original recipe, but America's love affair with OJ, orange juice, has made this recipe the one that has won the hearts of America, and it is the easiest one to make, quite honestly. I had lunch at Trident a number of years ago, and after enjoying a Tequila Sunrise, it inspired me to walk across the Golden Gate Bridge from Sausalito back to San Francisco under a very hot summer sun. And I will tell you, it takes a long time to walk across the Golden Gate Bridge. But let's go for the more complex recipe and make the agua caliente version. And now, my friends, you know the rest of the story.
That does it for today's show.
If you enjoy what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast.
To watch or listen to today's episode or to see the show notes, visit thecocktailgurupodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, or TikTok.
The Cocktail Guru podcast is produced by First Reel Entertainment and can be seen on EatsDrinksTV.com, Spotify, and Zencaster, or heard on Apple, Google, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Travel arrangements provided in part by Zell Travel.